purple one.
Right.
And
coming here as the 83rd Archbishop of Utrecht, you're also the head of the Old Catholic Churches of the Union of Utrecht.
yeah.
And we have been in full communion since 1931, the bond agreement. And so that was 82 years ago now.
Yeah.
It's the oldest full communion agreement that I know of. And of course it's between the communion, the entire communion, the Anglican communion, and all the churches of the Old Catholic Union of Utrecht. Can you tell us a little bit more about the churches of the Union of Utrecht?
Yeah. That full agreement, first of all, is something to be very proud of.
Absolutely.
Actually, because it was the very first ecumenical agreement. It's a very short one. The text is a very short one, and that has some advantages, I think.
4 lines.
So, yeah, 4 lines, 3 sentences. But it was the result of the collaboration of the Anglican Communion with the Old Catholic movement. Actually, it was that ecumenical motivation that was the motivation to reject the papal infallibility and universal jurisdiction of the Pope. Because all Catholics will say and have said the unity of the Church is not to find in this kind of novelties and novelties that express a kind of authoritarian approach to the problematic, but is to find in the early Church, in the first Church, with this emphasis on the local churches, and that's expressed something of our identity. We want to be a local church. All those dioceses in all those countries in Western Europe are local churches in this sense that they are really appropriate to their own context, being Christian in your own context and inspiring that context with the gospel. So it's a balance between those two that is important, and that makes also, that's the real missionary dynamic, I think.
I think Americans tend to see Europe now, because of the European Union, as sort of all the same, but of course the Netherlands are right next to Germany, but they're very, very different, which is very different from Switzerland and Italy and Poland and Croatia, Bosnia, and the Czech Republic, where your Union of Utrecht churches are founded.
In Europe we have over 50 languages, so it's over 50 cultures and more than that, I think, because also in a country, for instance in Germany, that a very big country, so there are more cultures. The Bavarian culture is quite different from the Rhineland culture, for instance. You are fully right that also within the Union of Utrecht we have many differences, cultural differences, language differences, but that's a challenge, and that's a richness and a challenge, not to lose unity in this context of diversity.
Well, we have the same challenge in the Episcopal churches in Europe,
right.
So we are always both rejoicing in and rising to the challenge of the diversity of our own churches that have all ties within, of course, the Episcopal Church, but as I said, just in the way they're governed and organized, they are already very different, and we have to struggle with that. And also rejoice in it. And I think maybe at this convention you've gotten a sense of the fact that we do enjoy each other's company.
That's right. You do enjoy one another's company, and so there is a belief that there is a common ground, and I think between Episcopalians and Old Catholics we have the same feeling that there is a common ground for us. There is something, we have something in common in our identities, and we have to look for that, I think, and then we can contribute to the proclaiming of the gospel in Europe.
Well, being in full communion means, of course, that we can interchange ministries. For instance, I'm an assisting bishop in the Old Catholic Church of Germany, and I didn't have to do anything other than be an Episcopal bishop in order to be licensed for that work. It's more of a formal thing at this point, but it means I can celebrate the Eucharist, I can confirm, and I can be asked to ordain people for the Old Catholic Church of Germany, and vice versa. We are licensing Bishop Ring in return, who could do the same work in the Convocation. But I think one of the things that you and I have discussed over the 12 years that I've been bishop, you've just been bishop, Archbishop 13, I believe, is that full communion needs to mean more. In the sense that because we are working alongside physically in so many countries, that it's foolish for us not to realize that we're being called to more than just we're good friends and we recognize each other as a church together, but that we need to take advantage of our different gifts and different charisms, to use that word, for mission in Europe.
When you have learned to know one another, and there is a moment that you have to go on to a more structured collaboration, I think. As presiding Bishop Catherine Joris said in Utrecht in 2011, full communion, it's a free quoting her now, but full communion is a challenge to work on fuller communion. I think that's very right. We have to work on fuller communion, and we will profit. Our two communions will profit from that. But what is the main thing and the most important thing is that the proclamation of the gospel and the church in Europe will profit from that.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure that, or I'm convinced that we, being small churches, we have some opportunities that big churches don't have, and that's a calling that in our smallness. There is a calling, I think, and we can contribute in a very proper way to the unity of the Church in Europe.